for others as well.
Oh.
All right, we're ready. We're gonna start. I started recording, so whoever doesn't get the whoever not on, they'll see it later. Natasha. Everyone who doesn't know who Natasha is the founder of the program that I'm involved in, Sons of Someone. She's the founder of the Boys and the Girls program, Someone's Daughter and Sons of Someone. I'm gonna let her finish introducing herself and what she is, who she is, and what she does. The floor is yours.
So again, my name is Natasha. I am the founder of Someone's Daughter and Sons of Someone. We started Someone's Daughter 7 years ago, and Sons of Someone is actually now going through its 5th year this April. Program began because we saw that there was a need in the community. I am from Elizabeth, born and raised, still in Elizabeth, and I am the only child. So I knew that I wanted to kind of go back and give back to my community. I am the first generation of a lot of things in my family, as in first generation college grad, first generation homeowner, business owner, all of those things. So I saw that it was important to go back to my community and kind of try and teach young ladies these things. Because myself, I didn't have a sounding board for anyone who could kind of show me. I didn't have a network. And I kind of had to learn a lot of things on my own. So to avoid some of the young ladies making the same mistakes I did, I knew that I wanted to start a program. I actually developed a huge network of women who had a similar story as mine. So we knew that we wanted to go back and give back to our community. I actually know Mr. Nelson from years ago, and once we launched the girls program, a lot of people saw that there was a need for a boys program. So Antoine was one of the first people that I reached out to see if he was interested. He was kind of on the same thing. So that's how the brother program actually launched. Professionally, I'm a registered nurse. I'm a nurse for 15 years, and I just a couple of months ago started getting into real estate, dabbling for being an agent, but more so my goal was for investing. So when I first started the nonprofit, I had to go through a lot of trial and error because that's not my background, that's not what my education is in. So I had to learn the hard way, which is why I'm kind of excited to get on this conference tonight and share as many tools as I can to make sure that you guys can avoid some of the mistakes that I made. And a lot of times people just don't want to share information. So I want to try and get as much information as So I did create an agenda only because I wanted to kind of stay on topic. But I do know that there's probably, people have questions. I want to kind of get some of those questions answered. So if I do say anything that you want to chime in on, you can definitely do that. If you have questions in regards to something that I said, please also chime in on that. I want to kind of make it as interactive as possible. I feed off of people's energy, so if you can kind of ask questions, that will make this a better Zoom for me. But I did create an agenda just so I can make sure that I touch on some key points. So, Antoine, can you share the agenda? So the first thing on my agenda is, what is a nonprofit? And I actually just heard the young lady speak in regards to the nonprofit that she want to start. And I'm glad that she actually said that, because what people don't know is that although you are becoming a nonprofit, you have different types of nonprofits. So you have a private foundation, or you can have a public charity. So when you are filling out to become a nonprofit organization, something like if she wanted to start a foundation, she wouldn't be filling out the same application as someone like myself or like a church. So there's definitely different types of nonprofit organizations, and you need to be clear as to who you want to be, what you want to be. And that's the only way you can kind of make sure that you're filling out the right application, because it definitely gives you restrictions if you're going for the wrong thing. So in regards to you wanting to start your foundation for lupus, if you're looking to start a foundation because you want to share information, then you should definitely look into a foundation. But if you know that eventually you would want to provide some type of services, maybe you want to provide classes and you want to be able to do a bunch of different things with your foundation, then maybe instead of starting off as a foundation, you should go straight into being a charitable organization. Therefore, you can receive the funds that you need to help support your endeavors, and you're not just restricted to only being a foundation. So those are two things that I definitely want you to understand the difference between a private foundation and a public charity. So any questions in regards to that? Because I'm about to move on to the next topic. No? Good. So first things first, what you need to know is what you want to do. So it's something that's called VMOSA. And I want you guys, if you're really serious about wanting to start an organization, get familiar with VMOSA, VMOSA. It stands for your vision, your mission, your objective, your strategy, and your action. So definitely jot that down, because this is something that you're always going to have to revisit. We are right now, as I said, we're in our 7th year, but we are now, again, revisiting our VMOSA. Reason why is because things change, needs change. So when it happens, you need to always be able to go back to your mission, go back to what your vision is, figure out what those strategies are and what the action is going to be. So VMOSA stands for your vision. The V is your vision. M is your mission. O is the objective. S is the strategy. And A is the action. And pretty much what that is the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So when you're doing your mission is pretty much saying what you want to do. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Where do you want to do it? These are things that you really need to focus on, what you want within a nonprofit. Your vision is your dream. Who do you want to become? So when I started Someone's Daughter, I knew that I had a model organization, and I advise you all to get a model organization, to know this is who you aspire to become. My model organization for Someone's Daughter was Girls Inc. It's a national organization, national platform. Their board has always included like the first lady of, president's wife. And so I knew that I wanted us to not only be here, eventually I wanted us to grow and become a national organization. So that's your vision. Your vision is your dream. Where do you want this organization to go? Your mission is what are you doing?
Can you guys see the screen?
Because of business rights and
Can you see the?
I can see it, but it's like split.
All right, hold on.
So I still see like your whole email. That's why I keep going back and forth, because this is like.
I don't know why it's paused.
Because we don't own How High. We came up with the ideas for How High, but they own the characters.
I'm not sure why it's doing.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going. So your mission is what you're doing. And all of these things are extremely important, because it's also the things that are required for your nonprofit application. So as you can see, if you go down the agenda, I do get to the nonprofit application last. And the reason why is because I kind of put it in order of what's required and making sure that you have everything you need for that application. So again, your mission is what you're doing. What is it that you want to see, what this nonprofit is going to be. And you want to make sure that your mission is clear. Your mission does not have to be long. Your mission could be one sentence. Your vision is where you need to put a lot more input into, because your vision is where you're going. So your mission could just say like ours. Our mission is to educate, encourage, and empower. But our vision gives more detail, because that's where you're going. That's what your dream is. So you need to be able to say, within your vision, I want to prevent teen pregnancy. I want to prevent gang violence, or whatever it is that you want to do. That all goes within your vision. Your objective is what the outcome, pretty much, what you would like to see happen. What what the outcome is. So as I stated, I want to be able to see teen pregnancy be prevented. I want to be able to see more people be educated on lupus and how it affects women and women of color. Those are the things that you want to be able to see as an outcome. Your strategy is also hugely important, because your strategy is the how you're going to get there, how you're going to do this. And your strategy is also important because that's a lot of the information that you're going to have to be providing to your funders. But how you're going to do this. So you want to be able to do some research and say, I see that there is a need. I see that there isn't enough education being provided. And I'm going back to the lupus. I see that there's a need. I see that there's not a lot of education being provided. So I want to make sure that what I can do is provide this education. Thank you, that's better. I want to be able to provide as much education as I can to my community. I want to be able to hold workshops. I want to be able to do walks, raise funds. I want to be able to, within those funds, be able to help someone who can't afford medication get their medication. Whatever it is that you want to do, that's your strategy. How are you going to do that? So that's another thing that you need to be able to put a lot more information into. What I want to do is I want to hear from the others that's on what your nonprofit is going to be, because I know I keep speaking to lupus, but I want to be able to speak to your missions as well. Yolanda and P, what are you ladies interested in doing?
Like condo in North downtown. Yeah, drink some more.
P, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just unmuted you.
You said you muted me?
Nah, we can hear you now.
I said I'm unsure. I'm just getting information. I'm just interested.
Yolanda?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I'm the same. I don't have a nonprofit organization. My brother is trying to start one though, so I thought I'd listen in for him. I know that he has, they're doing a nonprofit organization in Elizabeth, actually, it has something to do with teaching kids sports, basketball now and football later. I actually tagged him in this, the thing that was going on Facebook to let him know to chime in. So I'm just listening in for him as well.
Okay. So for him, he's also going to be dealing with so when he is doing his sports, in addition to him talking about education or teaching the sports, he can kind of also say that, he's doing health and fitness. He's giving him time, he's getting him off the street. So these are some additional things that he could be including in what his strategy is and what he's trying to accomplish. So it's not just about the sport. What else is he doing in addition to that? That's huge, especially when you're trying to look into getting funding opportunities. You have to figure out what you can do and how you can be innovative to stand out from someone else who's doing it. So you definitely want to think about those things. So another one is the action. The action is the getting into action and actually doing it. How do you plan to do that? What are you going to be doing? So you pretty much want to discuss your action plan. So your board of directors, that's what I really want to get into. Yes, you have a question.
Before you get there,
Yes.
how do I, like, say if my vision is want to help young African Nigerian people who just came over here and don't know the word, and I want to just help them out. My thing is, I want to start a Nigerian assistance program for teenage Nigerians. How do I find people that's like-minded and want to be a part of my program? Like, how did you find your network? How did you get your network?
So first and foremost, my network actually came from people that whether I worked with, whether I went to school with, or my friends. But I also began joining organizations. If you don't have people, because sometimes you don't have people in your circle that do the same need, or people in your circle who are just interested in doing the same thing. So you actually got to get out there and you have to network. I started joining other organizations, meeting like-minded individuals. Now social media is a very strong tool that you can use. Something like Facebook, they have different groups that you can become a part of. You need to get out there and start building your network. I cannot express how important a network is. If you're staying still, sitting
That,
at home, you can't
you're
hear me?
going in and out, like you're going
Yeah?
like a little bit.
I don't know. So if you're sitting still and you're not building your network, it's
Good. Well, no,
Can you hear me now?
it's going like in and out a little bit.
I don't know why.
It's not like bad, but
Can you hear me now?
yeah.
So your network is huge. You definitely need to start getting out there. There's different organizations that you can join. There's different meetup groups that you can go to. Definitely start utilizing social media and
Meetup.com. Meetup.com.
Yeah.
You'll find like-minded people.
Networking on social media, just networking with individuals. I'm not very social media savvy. I'm trying to do better with my social media. I have joined a couple of groups on Facebook, but I'm a more in-your-face type of person. I am a genuine relationship builder. I like to be with people, spend time with people, and really get to know, what your interests are and how we can work together. So if you are a person that really outgoing, get out there, get into those events. There's events everywhere all the time. You can just go on Eventbrite. I actually on Eventbrite, I stalk Eventbrite, try and figure out what kind of events is going on, what I can tap into. That is another tool that you can utilize. All you can do is just put in the information and say, what's going on today. And you can definitely filter it to what you're interested in and go for it. So a network is huge. Anything else in regards to that question, Antoine?
Nah, I just wanted you to build on how you find people to, help you out with that.
Yes. And ask. You definitely need to ask. I actually was just talking to someone and the gentleman said, what is the main reason why people give? So, he kind of went around a room and people said, they give because they can afford to give. They give because they want to, a tax write-off. They want to make a donation. Everyone went around the room and said all these different reasons of why people give. And he said, you know what the number one reason is? Ask. And no one said that. But if you're not asking, you're not going to get it. If you're not asking people for help, if you have an organization and you're not asking for donations, if you're not letting them know what it is that you need, how would they know? So you definitely need to ask. The third bullet point on my agenda is the board of directors. And I really kind of want to go into detail about your board of directors because this is huge. Your board is who is going to make or break your organization. And although when you first start pitching your organization, the first people you're going to pitch it to is probably your family and your friends. And your family and friends very well may be interested in your mission, may say that they want to support your mission. However, you need to really think about whether or not these people can do the work. That is huge because what you need to get is like-minded individuals, and you need to get people who not only believe in your mission, who's willing to do the work. Because if you have your friends and family and say, oh, I support you, I love you, I'll do this for you, and the only thing that you're going to be getting is for them to share something on social media, you really don't need that. They don't have to be on your board in order to share your information on social media. So you need to get out there and start building relationships with people who can do the work. Someone who possibly is already doing it. There's nothing wrong with asking an accountant to say, hey, listen, I'm trying to start this organization. Would you be interested in being on my board of directors? Even if they don't want to be on your actual board, ask them, can they just be an advisor? Can you be on my advisory council? Because these are key people that you want to have on your team. You want to try and find you a grant writer, somebody who can help you find the funds. Because even if you know where the money is, you need to be able to fill out these applications. You want to find you an attorney. Your attorney doesn't have to be on your board, but you want to find somebody who can help make sure that you're doing what you need to do on all the legal aspects of a nonprofit. It's very easy to lose your nonprofit status. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do so you don't have to worry about that coming back to you and you losing your status months in after you've already started doing the work. But you also want to find people. Yes.
Does this stuff cost money?
It do and it don't. So Grant writers, you got to find someone. I'm going to be honest with you. Finding a grant writer is hard. But everyone knows that if you are a nonprofit startup, you have no money. You have no money. So you really you have to ask. When I started this organization, I had no money. I had a hope and a dream. This is what I wanted to do. And I felt like I was a beggar. Like I was just going around begging everybody, like, please help me. I don't know what to do. All I know is I got the love and the heart, and this is what I want to do. And honestly, people do help. They help. But you gotta be ready to get out there and ask. If you're not asking, they're not going to know. And then social media, people would believe that someone's daughter has thousands of dollars. We're still struggling, So it's hard. It's definitely hard if you start out and you don't know and you don't have the network, but it can be done. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You definitely got to be willing to ask, start building those relationships. And again, I'm doing this Zoom. This is my first Zoom. It's not the first one that I've been on, but I'm definitely not a Zoom talker. But I wanted to be able to provide as much information as I can, because I do know that when you're in the nonprofit world, if you don't have the right connections and the right people to give you the information, you will feel lost. So I definitely want to be able to provide as much help as I can. But in addition to the key players that I already discussed, you need people who also aren't afraid to build those relationships, because you need ambassadors. You need people that's out there doing exactly what you're doing. They are building relationships. They're also out there looking for, accountants and attorneys and people with money. You need ambassadors for your organization, and you need the people who's, again, ready to do the work. So one thing that I did when I started the organization, I went with my friends, and although they supported me with my idea, they didn't know how to support me with getting the work done. So I actually, in the beginning, I felt overwhelmed with not feeling like I had the proper support, but we didn't know. None of us knew. So I would recommend that you all definitely seek the right people. Make sure that you're looking for the right people, the like-minded people, the people that's ready to do the work. When I met with Antoine already wanted to do it. He knew that that's what he wanted to do. So I didn't have to convince him to do this. I didn't have to convince him to see what my mission was, because he was already on the path of doing it. Now all we got to do is put our heads together and figure out how we're going to make it work. So you have to seek those people. In addition to that, I would recommend you finding somebody who knows how to do strategy. I don't know what you guys, what your background is on the Zoom, but I would recommend you finding somebody who knows how to do development. That's a key person that you need to have, somebody who can help you write down your goals, what your 5-year goals is going to be, and write down an action plan of how to get to those goals. Because if you have the right person in place to help you with your strategy, to help keep you accountable with saying that this is our mission, this is our vision, this is how we're going to get here, that is how you stay on track. And that's also how you grow your organization. Strategy is important. You would think that when you're out there doing the work and people see that you are already growing your organization, for us with the work, we've grown in numbers each year. But just because you've grown in numbers, you have to still be able to grow in service. So we can say that we started off servicing 25 kids and now we service 125 kids. Okay, great. You service 125 kids, but what are you doing? What are your measures? How can you showing me that you've grown in numbers, but how have you grown in substance? How are you now saying that you've provided a change? So you want to be able to make sure that you have a strategy person keeping you on track for those particular goals. But I think your board of directors, it's huge with who you select, how you make that selection. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yes. I'm actually a part of a nonprofit organization for the football. So I wanted to just ask you, when in terms of, like you said, ask, get out there and ask. Everything, like for sports and stuff like that, when you do these, when you ask people, sometimes, people don't want you to just ask, hey, can you help me out with your handout? So it's other ways to ask, like, fundraisers and stuff like that. What would you advise when if you're starting out from nothing and you don't have anything to, fundraise, or what's your idea of just asking? Are you saying just go ahead and just ask, panhandle? Or when you say ask, what are some other ways that you can ask when you're trying to,
To start off.
get funds? Yeah.
So what you were going to say, Antoine?
Grants.
Right, grants. But here's what I would recommend you do from the beginning. I would definitely recommend you trying to seek an organization like yours doing some of the same services who is more established. Because what you can do is say, listen, we are a startup organization. We don't have many funds, but these are the services that we provide. How can we work with you? And that way, one, you do now put yourself you have more power with getting funds, getting a grant, because a lot of times if you're a new organization, they don't want to just offer you funds. They don't know anything about you. You have no background to say that you provided these services that you're asking for money for. So what you can do is, like what we did was we went to, when we started our pilot program, we went to the Elizabeth Presbyterian Center. I'm born and raised from Elizabeth, so I knew back in the day when anything you wanted to do with kids, it was at the press. So of course, that's where I went. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is the services that I know we can come and provide. How can you help me? I don't have any money. I really don't even know where to get the money from, but I know that I have this service. So then they can say to you, like, listen, we actually don't have the service. We may want to provide this service. You have the people, you have the resources. This is the money that we have. There's also something in regards to fiscal sponsorship. So you can say to someone, can you be my fiscal sponsor? Therefore, they can kind of help you with soliciting these funds. They can help you find the funds. If you are applying for a grant, it makes you stronger because they have more of a time. They have more of a time frame. They have, like now, we've been established for 7 years. So if a new organization came to us and said that they wanted to be our fiscal sponsor, we've gotten grants. We have more, for lack of a better word, we have more buying power. So you want to be able to find organizations that's doing similar work and first start trying to work with them. But in regards to, believe it or not, what you should do is do a launch, letting people know who you are, what you're doing. That can be your fundraiser. Can you hear me? Antoine, did you just come closer because you needed to hear me? No? And do some type of campaign. Start a campaign with how you can, try and raise some funds. Maybe you can do an online campaign. Maybe you could do something, with having people come out for your campaign. You definitely, if you want to let people know who you are and what you're doing, and you want to start with your service. So you're going to have some out-of-pocket expenses. You want to start providing your service first because you want to have something to back what you're saying. Because anybody can come to you and say, listen, this is who I am and this is what I do. But if they don't have any hardcore information or any stats to say this is what I did and to show that it's a need, it is going to be difficult to get the money. So those are that's the recommendation that I would say. Try and find someone that you can partner with. Try and find an organization that can be a sponsor, or just start some of the programs that you can afford out of pocket. And then that can give you more leverage to say, this is, we're doing it. And then people will be more inclined to give. Any additional questions in regards to that before I move on? No? Okay. So next I have establishing your legal entity. So before you even go for applying for your nonprofit status, you first have to be established as an entity. So you have to get your EIN number. You need to already have your board of directors in place, because your board of directors is what's going to go on your articles of incorporation. Legally, for you to be established as a nonprofit, the minimum board members that you need to have is 3. And it must be an odd number. So you can have 3, you can have 23, you can have 33. It just needs to be an odd number, but the minimum by law is 3. And also you want to apply for a DUNS number. So your EIN is free, your DUNS number is free. Your articles of incorporation for a nonprofit, I believe it's still $75. Those are the EIN and the articles of incorporation is what you need to establish the business entity. The reason why I say apply for a DUNS number is for 2 reasons. Your DUNS number is what it pretty much allows a business to be established for credit, for anyone who doesn't know what a DUNS number is. This allows you to have business credit and to see if you're in good business standing. This also is what all government and federal government funds look for in order for you to qualify for any government funds. So in order for you to get any grants from the city, any grants from the county, any grants from the state, that's all government money. So you have to have a DUNS number because that's how they look to see that you are doing what you need to do with the funds. Once you have all of these things established, once you have your VMOSA, your vision, your mission, your objective, your strategy, your action plan, once you've established your board of directors, again, the minimum is 3. Once you've established your entity as a business, now you're ready to go to the IRS and fill out the application, which is called a 1023 application form. This application is actually, I can't remember how many pages it is. It used to be a thick book, but from my understanding, they have kind of made it a smaller book. I'm just trying to see if I can tell you how many pages it is real fast, but I don't see it. But all of this information is going to have to go on that application. So they're going to be asking you who your board of directors are. They're going to be asking you what is the service that you're providing, how do you plan to provide it, where are you going to provide it. All of that has to go on the application because the IRS, again, wants to see that you are definitely prepared to provide these services. And the application is it's a long application. It's a very tedious application. Any wrong information that you put on this application can get you not necessarily denied, but it can make your process be a little longer. The last time I checked, it can be anywhere from 90 days to 6 months for you to become a tax-exempt organization. But if there's any errors on this application, this can go on for a year or 2. So you want to make sure that you cross all your T's, dot all your I's, have all of your information in place. If you do have an attorney, try and get your attorney to go over the application. If you don't, that's fine. I did my application myself. Again, I didn't have an attorney. I didn't have an attorney friend. I didn't have an accountant. I didn't have any of that information. I did it all myself, and thankfully the application went through. Since then, I have done other applications. So if you need help, get with Antoine, have him plug you in with me, and I'm definitely willing to help and assist however I can. But your 1023 application is the final thing that you need to put together in order to make sure that you have become tax exempt. Once you are an established entity, it's go time. Start asking for money. Again, people are more inclined to give when they see that you are providing a service. They see that there is a need for your service. They see you in action. When you have some measurable outcomes to say, we started at this and we're now here, you can start seeking the funds. It's tax exempt, it's a tax write-off. So you need to get in a room, start building those relationships and being able to ask for the money. Any questions so far before I go into the do's and don'ts? No? So the do's and the don'ts. First thing I say to not do is to start trying to get your family and friends on your board. Because when you get them on your board, and if they're not interested in your mission, it's going to be hard to get them off your board when it's time for them to go, and they are not doing the work that they need. Another don't that I would recommend is to, once you do start getting funds and once you do start getting the government grants, a lot of times the money is restricted money. So they may say, I'll give you money if you are willing to do this. So you get excited about being able to get this money. So if you know that your nonprofit is for lupus, and someone says, I'm willing to give you money if you now start talking about infertility. And you get excited because you're like, okay, I know I need this money. And all I got to do is add this quick information about infertility, and then now I can get this money. So it sounds good. But what it does is it takes you off track for your mission and your vision, because you are now going to have to report on these funds. You are now going to be restricted to providing, you're going to now put time and energy of trying to figure out how you can offer these infertility workshops, and how you can now start providing these services where it has strayed you away from your goal, your vision, your mission. And a lot of funds are restricted funds, and it sounds good and for you to get maybe $10,000, but that $10,000 may be taking you off the course for where you want to be. And from experience, I've done that. I knew initially when we started the organization some core things that we wanted to focus on. And then, you know, when people do see that you're active in doing the work, or even if you're starting to look for funds, you may say, oh, these people service kids. This is kid money. But this money is saying that now you have to do sports. We don't do sports. So now I have to take away from my mission and what we're doing and figure out how now I can create this whole sports program that we don't do. And I now have to report on that money. I have to provide all of this information. I have to have the numbers for this, and it can completely take you away from your current mission and vision for who you are and what you want to do. So that's one of the things that I say don't do. A do is definitely utilize social media, definitely utilize your network. Even if you're, I know I say stay away from your family and friends for your board of directors, but get them involved. They can volunteer. Get them to support your mission. Get them to be ambassadors for your mission. You want to have as many people as possible loving what you do, supporting what you do, getting involved with what you do, and speaking about what you do within the community. And not necessarily speaking about you per se, but speaking about the mission. You want to have as much visibility as you can. You want to be able to reach as many people as you can. That's how your organization grows. A lot of times people try and have, they try and do it themselves. I am not a believer in you definitely need a team. So I advise everyone to start getting a team, building a strong team, and figuring out how you all can work together collectively to get this mission and vision off the ground.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you started 7 years ago, you said?
7, yeah.
In those 7 years, how has like your program been going as far as the people that you started with in the beginning when you started with your vision, like to now, like the people who had one in the mission with you?
Right. So from very day one, I only have one person still riding out with me, just one. We started off with a team of 6 women, and out of that 6 women, there's only still one standing strong today. I have a lot of people who have been with me for 7 years, but not like day one, sticking out. Antoine is one of the people since SOS has been in existence. He's been there since day one, and he can even tell you, I think there's only about 2 people still there since day one. People come, people go. People like to jump on things when it's hot. Like when we went to Disney, the messages was flooded. Everybody wanted to be a volunteer. Everybody wanted to get their kids involved. When they see the images, everybody want to get involved. But when they don't realize that it's work, it's not easy. So you also have to make sure that you are aligning with the right people, because everybody is not for your vision. Everybody is not for your mission. So you want to make sure that you're also not sharing it with the wrong people. So you just got to use discernment when you are out there sharing your mission and your vision with certain people as well, because everyone is not for you. We've had a lot of people come and go, but we've also had a lot of people who, once they came on board, they have stayed. Any other questions?
Has the mission wavered?
It has.
The mission the same?
It has. So we're actually right now revamping or reclarifying our mission and vision, because as I stated, that was one of the things that I did that I needed to kind of wheel back in. I started seeing that there was funding available, and I started, kind of wavering from our current mission in order to get those funds. So then it kind of, like, you're all over the place. So what do you actually do? So I'm like, oh, I do this, I do that, we do this, we do this, we do, and you need to have core things that you do. Even if every now and then you want to add something extra, like if we say that our core things is we focus on self-esteem, we focus on networking, we focus on character development, education. Let's just say if we say we focus on those 4 things. If we want to have signature programs, like we do have a STEM program, we have a leadership program, those are signature things that we offer additionally. But we can't now just start saying that we offer sports. We got a sports program over there, and we offer trying to think of something else that I can say. We do cooking. We have a whole cooking, or I don't know, just different things. You want to make sure that you have a core of what you do and stick to that, because you will lose track of what was your reason for even starting this organization when you have people start throwing things your way. And you want to make sure that you stay away from political ties. So as a nonprofit organization, you got to make sure that you stay away from those things. You cannot get involved with politics. You cannot support politics. You're going to have, you may have your own person who you support, but you support that person as you, not as your organization. If I know that I'm voting for this person, I'm voting for this person as Natasha Davis. But guess what? Someone's daughter can't support you. I can't have my kids out there walking a campaign for you. I can't do any of those things because you can't get involved with that. One, you can't get involved with these different parties, but also it's illegal. It is illegal. So when you start filling out for funds, they're going to ask you, have you ever received money from, or have you ever put money towards a political campaign or any of those things? You cannot do that. And if you have personal relationships with politicians, it is going to come with times where you're going to, be placed in situations where you are, they may want you to support something that you can't support. I want to make sure I say the right thing. Natasha can support you all day, but someone's daughter cannot. So make sure that you are staying on top of that and you're being mindful of those relationships, because those are relationships that you want. Nonprofit, whether you want to or not, whether you want to admit it or not, it is politics. Those are relationships that you have to build, especially when you're seeking these city, county, federal, state monies. You want to be able to have these people advocating for you to say, yes, this person is providing this service. This person is doing this in the community. I've seen it done. But they have to be, you have to be clear with them that this is just the relationship that we have.
I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like giving up?
Today. I felt like giving up today. You are going to always be faced with that. It's extremely challenging, and every day there is a different challenge. Depending on what it is that you do, if it's something that you love, you are going to be challenged. If you don't care about it, then you're not really going to care. It's not going to affect you. But when you love it and you're passionate about it, if something goes wrong, if something's not right, especially when you are working with volunteers, this is not their 9 to 5. So you're only going to get volunteer work from them. You're going to have probably, and I don't want to say that you're going to have, I hope that none of you have this, but people don't like to be accountable. People don't like to be responsible. And people know that they're not getting paid to do a lot of the work. 90% of nonprofit work is volunteer work. And no one's going to show up and show out the way you are. So you get disappointed a lot. And you feel like, why am I doing this? I don't get paid to do this. This is not paying my bills. But when you are passionate about something, you stick with it. So nonprofit is not easy. People will lead you to believe that it's free money, and it's not. The funding is out there. It's both easy and hard to find. I know that, it's an oxymoron, but it is. If you are looking for the money and you are really trying to, and if you're providing a service, the money will come. I have no idea how we've survived the way we have, but we are providing a good service. So people see that. Now we have people reaching out, wanting to help, wanting to provide their services, wanting to get involved and see how they can help us as much as possible, because they see that we haven't given up and we are still doing the work. So any other questions? Any questions that I can answer specifically to your mission? That's what I want to, because I kind of went over some basics, but I want to be able to give you some.
Yeah, Shaniqua, I know you got some questions.
My number one question is, what's the difference between like a trademark and then an LLC? Like, did you have to do either of those first before you started all this, or no?
So your LLC is what I said is your articles of incorporation. Okay. As a nonprofit, you can be an LLC as a nonprofit, but an LLC, it just establishes your entity different. So when you have a regular business and you establish an LLC, I recommend everyone to go for an LLC. It just gets you from limited liability from yourself. But as a nonprofit, you want to become incorporated. The reason why is because that's where your board of directors come into place. And one of the questions that they're going to ask you, articles of incorporation is shares. One of the questions that they're going to ask you is, when your organization is dissolved, where is it going? So as a nonprofit, you can't say that I had $100,000 in the bank, and if I decide that I'm closing today, I'm pocketing this $100,000, because technically it's not your money. So you have to be able to say that whether the shares is going this way, or I'm dissolving this organization and I'm now donating this $100,000 to someone else. So that articles of incorporation kind of plugs in what your question is. So instead of becoming an LLC, you need to be trying to become incorporated. That's what the articles of incorporation stands for.
Okay. So as the articles of incorporation, if I wanted to sell goods as well, do I have to be both, or
no? So as a nonprofit, you can sell a service. You can sell a service. You can sell a product. If your product is providing a service, or if you're selling a t-shirt, you can sell a service. You can sell a product. There are some limitations to what you can and cannot sell, because so prime example for me, another thing that's huge with a nonprofit is conflict of interest. So for me, if I want to, as a realtor, sell a house, I, as a board of director, cannot sell a house to someone's daughter. It's a conflict of interest. So you have to be clear with what your product is going to be, and whether or not that product is a conflict of interest for a nonprofit organization, or just it conflicts with you as an individual and with the organization. But you can definitely do that. There's a such thing as a fee for service. So you can charge whatever it is that you want to charge. That does not affect your nonprofit status.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? No? Antoine, any other questions? I can't hear you.
I didn't say that. All right. Oh, I did have a question. So, when you first started, where did you what was where did you see it going, and where did you want it to go? And is it the same thing now?
So again, I wanted to model the organization Girls Inc., which was a national organization. It was a chapter-based organization, and they are nationwide. I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. And this is another thing with going back to revisiting my mission and my vision, and how we are always going back to the Vamosa, which is the reason why I said you're going to be starting with this, but this is huge because this is going to follow you throughout your nonprofit lifetime, because you are always going to have to go back to that. So what we did was we first started in Elizabeth. Then after that, we opened a chapter in Linden. Then we opened a chapter in Union, then in Rahway. And we ended up having all of these chapters of the organization because I knew that I wanted to be a chapter-based program. However, what I had to do was go back to the drawing board because I wanted to work smarter and not harder. So it's like, why do you have all these chapters within 10 minutes from each other? You're not becoming national that way. Nobody is still just only seen in these little towns. You know, so it's like, oh, and you know, on Monday I'm in Elizabeth, on Tuesday I'm in Rahway, and it's like my week became consumed with every day I'm in another location because I felt like, oh, we have all these chapters. And it does sound good, but it makes no sense. So I had to go back to the drawing board with that. So now we are all under one roof. We are still servicing the same amount of kids. We've actually been able to open the door and service more kids, but it kind of wavered off from what my mission was. I'm not becoming national by having 5 chapters in Union County. Like I wasn't even outside of Union County. They were all in Union County. So I can see if I had one in Union, maybe one in Burlington County, and I can say I service both Union County and South Jersey, but that wasn't even the case. So that my ultimate goal was to become that organization, and it just didn't. Well, it still is my goal, but that didn't work out. I also, you have to, depending on what it is that you're doing, you want to also remain with the times, and you want to be innovative. So you want to see what everyone else is doing. Not saying that you are trying to be like them, but if I had the choice to give my money to someone who is just coloring all day, or someone who are building robots, I'm going to give my money to the one that's more impressive. So you want to make sure that you are continuing to look at who are they funding? Why are they funding them? So for me, I look at who the funders are. Who are the key funders that fund youth programs? And this kind of goes into grant writing 101. Maybe we can really have a grant writing class one day, but you want to know who the funders are. You want to look at your key players. I want to look and see organizations like Girls Inc. or the Boys and Girls Club. Who funds them? Obviously, these people have an interest in kids. So these are now who I need to start reaching out to. And why are they funding them? Are they specifically funding them because they do health and wellness programs? Are they funding them because they have an interest in STEM? Are they funding them just because they want to fund inner city youth? So you need to start looking at who they are, why they're funding, and also stand up with the times. A lot of times, you may even lose people throughout your journey because people don't like to change. People don't like to grow. And you may see that now I need to become more innovative. And a lot of times people get stuck in their ways. When I first started the organization, for probably the first maybe 3 to 4 years, no one knew who the hell I was. People were saying like, oh, that's such and such organization. Well, that's her organization. Like people were literally believing that the organization belonged to someone else. Because, and I say that to say that, one, you do want to get people back what I was saying in regards to getting people to be ambassadors for your organization, getting people to love what it is, what they're doing, and take ownership of it. But I also say that because I lost my train of thought. What was my reason for saying?
You said,
yeah, you want to make sure it completely left me. I don't know what I was about to say.
you was talking about you want people to be ambassadors.
Right. You want them to be an ambassador with pushing your mission. But it was a reason why, it'll come back to me. It was a reason why I wanted to say, people don't like to change. So a lot of times you do lose people because they don't want to change with the times, and they want to stick within one. Someone have only been a part of the organization because they wanted to do one thing, and now that you are transitioning with the times, you may lose people on the path to that. Any other questions? So in regards to funding, I just want to leave you with this. A lot of times there's different types of funding. You have foundation money, you have foundation funds, you have grant funds. But believe it or not, a lot of your money is going to come from individual donors. So again, you want to make sure that you are visible. You want to make sure that you're building the relationships, and you want to be out there doing and providing the service and letting people see it. Invite people to come out. Even if they don't want to be a part of your organization, just say, stop by and see us. Stop by and see what we're doing. Even if you don't want to volunteer, just come check us out. Most of our funds come from individual donors. People are seeing what you're doing and they just want to support your mission. So that's why having a nonprofit is huge.
How did you get the space to do this? Did you have an office? Do you have a building? How did you get the space to do whatever it is that you're doing?
So we don't have our own building yet, but I actually visited a space today that I think I'm going to try and get. So what I did was I actually, like I said, when I first started, I went to the Elizabeth Presbyterian Center, that this is who I am, this is what I do, and asked them, all I need you to do is provide me with the space. I had the service. I had everything that I needed. I needed space and I needed the funds to support what I was trying to do. So go to your local city. Go to, if you have a relationship with your mayor, if you have a relationship with your city council people, go to them and say, especially if you have community space, try and get the community space, try and access the libraries. These are all free space that is supposed to provide access and programs to the community anyway. So a lot of times they don't even know where to get programs. So with you coming asking and saying that you want to do this, it looks better for them. So start going. First thing is to go to your city and find out, where is the space? How can I get in this space? Is there a fee? And most of the time it's not. Currently where we are, we do pay rent. But prior to that, we have always accessed community space, community space. Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't have any. Thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome.
You dropped a lot of gems.
I hope I did.
Definitely appreciate you.
All right. Have a good night. Again, Antoine, if anyone has any additional questions, feel free to connect them.
All right.
All right.
Good night, ladies. Good night. I hope
Good night.
got some good.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.